Welcome to Rich in Blockchain. Okay guys, today's the 15th of September 2022 and we're just going to have a quick recap and look at BTC today, ETH and BNB. That's what we're going to have a look at, and also the BTC Dominance and DXY. We're not going to have a look at everything else. Everything else isn't looking that great. So we're going to have a look at the major ones. So going off BTC at the moment, so what I noticed when I started charting this anyway, is that it's starting to form a bear flag here. So as you can see from the chart here with the bear flag, the target zones are generally from this peak to the bottom here. If it range bounds for a while with touching support, as if we go back, we can see that now this point here has now become support. But once we break through, expect us to go and make a newer low. So what I mean by a bear flag continuation is generally when you draw a bear flag, it'll be from the pole. So the bottom of the pole, which if you reverse it to the top of the pole, and then it'll break downwards. Okay, so that's how you actually draw the target from there. But as you can see here as well, it's forming a descending triangle as well, which is also another bearish indication that BTC is going to be going further down as well. Looking at the 4 hourly, we can see that there's possibilities of it also retracing a bit, which is fine. Not too concerned about that one. Be great if it does, but in my opinion, I don't think we will, because there's also, I'm not sure if many know, but there's also news of Mt. Gox releasing their coins in the next couple of days. So that may trigger a downtrend from there. Looking at the 12 hourly, you can see that still bearish. MACD is also showing it as well. Looking at the daily as well, yeah, you can see the MACD starting to reverse here. So looking at the bigger time frame that we drew from yesterday, we can also see that this point here, so I'm going to draw this nicer so we can all see it. Get rid of these points. Okay, so what we're going to do is draw this polyline anyway. So we can see that this is a descending triangle. It's touching this point here. The next point was there. Right, it's kind of range bound. And the next point, it will break down to below long-term wise. I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. So possibly, hopefully around about that November, October mark, because this is a larger time frame. Yeah, unfortunately, it's about that $8,000 range. Because also, I would like to make a note, looking in the past, not on this chart anyway, but if you look at the BTC CME charts, you can also see that there's a CME gap between the $9,000 range, which, if this does actually happen, is a great spot for it to get filled before we move on up, because as we know, there's a lot of CME gaps along the way up as well. But we're not having a look at the CME charts for BTC here. We're just clearly just having a look at the BTC chart in itself here. So in my opinion, in the next coming days, yeah, BTC is going to have a bit of a pullback and downtrend. We're going to break through and break down from this bear flag and reach that $17,000 range. And if we do bounce from them, I'm not saying that, you know, it's a massive probability that we are going to be going down. As I said, with trading, it's more about probabilities and I guess, you know, being able to tell if it's going to happen or not. So if we do break down to this point here, we can say that we have kind of formed a double bottom here from this past lows. So that's just that for BTC. Having a look at ETH. So with ETH, yeah, this is still in play. So after the ETH merge this morning anyway, which is about now an hour and a half ago, as you can see even more clearly now, that we're starting to form a bear flag here. This is your typical bear flag. So same as before, the pole of the flag, pretty much from the top to the bottom, you drag it over to where the bottom of the breakout zone would be, which would be this trend line here, because as we can see, we're starting to form a trend here. All right, you can see on the hourly, the MACD is starting to reverse as well. So generally what happens is once we start breaking from this point here, the next target zone would be about that $1,400 mark. Yeah, which also coincides if we were to look at the bigger time frames. Just looking at load, bigger time frames of ETH also being around that mark here in the past as well. So as I said, previous support becomes resistance, previous resistance becomes support. After the ETH merge, to be honest, I don't think there's anything positive for ETH at the moment, because a lot of people are going to have their ETH locked up. They will also get an airdrop of ETH-W, which is your proof of work ETH, and possibly they'll, those ones that didn't decide to lock it up will be selling both. And since there's less liquidity on the markets themselves, it's easier to actually swing the price of ETH. So yeah, I mean, the weekend's also coming up as well, so brace yourselves. If you guys are holding, maybe put a stop loss so then you guys can buy back lower. But as I said, this is not really financial advice, it's just more of what I'm actually seeing as well. So that's just that for ETH. Having a look at BNB, I haven't drawn this one yet, but as we can see from a couple of days ago, looking at the 4 hourly, we have a wick down here. You can see anyway, to actually touch the previous support zone, which is what we have mentioned. So with BNB, possibly going to be going down further now. So we're touching this point multiple times. Right now we're up here. It wouldn't surprise me if BNB does one of these. So let me just grab a polyline. So right now, as I said, we have done a bit of a Kobo, touch here, came back up, right? So possibly what's going to happen, I'm going to come back down and retest it again, because if BTC does fall, expect the rest of the alts to follow as well. All right, play around there, and possibly the next support zone will be that 239 zone, in my opinion. But if I also draw a fib as well, if that was the tops, we can also see that if it pulls back to that zone here, that's a 0.618 Fibonacci zone, which is a golden zone, which is perfect for retracement. So that's what we're possibly seeing as well for BNB. So also another thing I noted, looking at this is possibly an ABC correction wave for the Elliott wave. It's kind of hard to draw an AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zone here. Can be taken so many ways, but pretty much it has looked like we have done that bit there. But right now we're broken up, and as you can see here, we have broken out of this support zone. I'm not saying to get rid of it yet, I'm just going to keep it there for now, because it'll possibly come back up to retest it later on. But in the coming days, if it doesn't do anything, then I'll remove it. So having a look at the BTC Dominance, not doing much at all. Yeah, it's clearly showing that BTC Dominance is starting to lose itself. Still having funds being keeping on the alts, so not too much we can do on that one there. Yeah, everything's dependent on BTC at the moment. Having a look at the DXY, which is the one that's also surprising me at the moment. So we're starting to form a cross on the DXY. So it's a lagging indicator, but if both the 200 moving average and the 100 moving average, 200 moving average and the 50 moving average start moving at the same time, that's a clear indicator that it's going to be bullish for the US dollar index. Looking at the 4 hourly, it's going to show some reversals, but still positive nonetheless. In my opinion, we're going to be touching one of these trend lines anyway, which is the top of this rising wedge, and then from there we may possibly have a bit of a retrace, but until that point hits, not too sure yet. But yeah, that's all we have time for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you guys also want to have a look at, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Anyway, my name is Rich, and you've been watching Rich in Blockchain. I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Please remember to like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a good one.